All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of How Do I Do This Anyways? Today's topic of conversation is going to be making your assembly model for your automatic box. So you're going to be making something that looks ish like this, following the instructions to meet the criteria outlined in this assignment. Remember, we're making a 5-inch by 4.5 by 4-inch box measured from the outside to outside. So we're going to go ahead and start this. Now, before you actually start trying to put pieces together, there is some extremely important legwork you need to do. Okay. So you need to make sure that you have a project folder in your flash drive with all of your parts in it. Don't have them in My Documents, downloads, ones on the desktop. Put them all on your flash drive in a project folder right now. If you don't already have that done, do it now. This is going to save you so much headache with lost parts and broken links and all this stuff later. Okay? So please do that right now. Now, those of you that have already done that, great. Those of you that haven't, go and do it. Last warning. And now let's go ahead and get started. When we're making an assembly, we just got to go File, click New, and we're going to come over here to Assembly. We want a standard.iam. That's an inventor assembly model. Click that, double click it if you want to be all fancy and quick, or just single click and say Create. Now this is saying Assembly 3 because this is my third time doing this tonight because I wanted to make sure it was good. So this is where we're going. I'm going to go ahead and place a part first. Click Place, and I'm going to say Place. I'm going to make sure that I'm in my project folder. I'm not going to be in the downloads folder. I'm not going to be anywhere else. I am in my project folder. You can see that. You can see the whole file tree right through there, and you can see your project folder. You can see all the parts in your project folder. And I'm going to strongly recommend you start with the bottom. If you single click on it, you'll see a little preview, and it'll show you what all this stuff is, what that file is. Now, I want to do the bottom. I'm going to click one time on it there, and I'm going to click Open here. Now, if I zoom way out, I'm getting the front view of my bottom piece, okay? I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to say Place Grounded at Origin. And it should lag for a second and then show up something like this, okay? Now, I'm going to hit Escape to drop that part because I only need one bottom in this whole thing. You see that little pin there? That means that it is fully constrained. It is grounded at the origin. I can click on it and it doesn't want to do anything. Now, that's very boring. Let's spice things up and place a couple more parts. I'm going to go ahead and start with my walls. So walls with the holes in them. That looks like it's right. Click OK. And now I've got this thing like this. Now, I'm going to show you how to orient this thing so that way it's facing the right direction. I'm going to want to spin this around. So I'm just going to say Z, X. Yeah, the X turned it actually pretty well. So now it's upright. And now I want to rotate around that green arrow. So I'm going to rotate Y. And now my flat back is lined up with the flat back of the bottom piece. So I'm going to just single click right there and it drops the piece. Since I know I'm going to need a second one, I'm going to drop a second one over here, okay? If you're having trouble with this, don't do that yet. Now, you see how I've got this one piece over here, but I can't really see the edges that well. The edges are extremely important, so you need to make sure your visual styles are turned on. Click this little arrow down here and make sure that your visual styles are checked. That will give you this little blue sphere with a gray cube thing. And we want to do shaded with edges. Okay. Now I can see the edges very clearly. Now, in these constraints, we are mostly going to do, in fact, we're going to all do flush constraints here because we are measuring from the outsides of the features of the boxes. Okay. So I want the outside of that to be flush with the outside of that. Now, did you hear that little clicky noise? That meant that it made the constraint, and the constraint was good. So I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel, and I'm going to show you what that does. You see how it made it so that way that edge right here is always flush with this face? That's its job. I cannot move it away from that. Even though it looks like it is, I've actually just moved it off to the side. I'm going to now make it so that way my back is flush because it's supposed to have a flush back. So I'm going to grab my my flush constraint again, and I'm going to go back of that, click apply. All right, so now give this thing a shake, and it's only moving in one direction. It has 1 degree of freedom left. Let's go ahead and close that out and lock it in place. It will now be fully constrained in place. Apply, cancel. Now, when I rotate this thing, I'm going to hold shift in my center mouse wheel. I can turn this thing, but I can't move this because this piece is grounded and this is fully constrained to it. Okay, so now I'm going to do the exact same thing. Go through the exact same 3 constraints. You need 3 constraints in order to lock it in 3 dimensions. Apply, outside face to outside face, back face to the back face. And now the bottom face, that edge right there to that edge right there. Apply. Cool, groovy. Now it's working. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you something. What happens, I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to make it like that. Oh, cancel. It won't let me. Delete that constraint. What happens if I make the wrong constraint? So I'm going to go ahead and click my mate constraint there again. But I'm going to select my bottom here, but I'm going to goof and I'm not going to select the right surface. It's going to light up that one. It didn't make my little sound. Did you hear that lack of sound? And you see how it lit them up purple? Like it's lighting them up. It's saying you've selected the surfaces, but it's not giving you a preview of it. And when I click apply, it's not allowing me to do that. That's because making that relationship would interfere with other relationships. So I'm going to cancel that operation. Okay. Another thing that you're probably going to end up doing, because it's actually difficult to select the right geometry all the time, you're going to select the wrong thing. You're going to be in a hurry. You're going to select it, and you're not going to notice it until later when you're like, oh, wait, whoa. Why are those hanging down here? That's where you start having to diagnose your relationships. Relationships are the constraints that we have made. Okay. So when you find that there's something messed up, you hover over the part that is messed up. And when the part lights up on the screen, this main screen where my browser or where my mouse is, it also lights up over here on the left in my browser. When I hover over it here in the browser, the part lights up green right there. Okay. When I hover over it and it lights up green, the browser gets circled. So that tells me where the part is in the browser. Now I need to figure out what relationship is wrong. So if I hover over flush 4, I can see the 2 surfaces. Let me just turn it a little bit and bring it on over. Flush 4 has those 2 surfaces. That looks good. Flush 5. Ooh, let's turn that around. Flush 5 is the back 2 surfaces. That looks good. Flush 6. Whoa, that looks a little bit weird. Yeah, that's the one. So what we're going to do, we're going to suppress that feature. You see how it's graded out right now? We're going to suppress that. We are not going to straight delete it because doing that might break something else. Now, we might want it broken, but whatever. You see how we can move it now and we can physically lock it in place? Yeah, that's the one. Now we can delete it. That's how you test it, and that's how you see what relationships are wrong. Okay, that's called diagnosing it. Now, testing it, that's all right. Now, let's go ahead and place the front. Open. Now, you see how it's laying flat there? I'm just going to set it in there laying flat. I'm not going to rotate it around first. Also, I want to make sure that you are aware that I'm constraining all of my pieces to this bottom piece as much as possible. That will help remove conflicts later on. So I'm going to go ahead and do my flush constraint between the edge and the edge. Okay, click apply, click cancel, and make sure that looks right, and that does look right. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this again, but now I'm going to do my flush constraint. I want this surface to be flush with that surface. Boom, now it is. If yours flies into a different spot, but it's still in the constraint in the right direction, then it's right. Be happy. Now I'm going to do this bottom. I want that bottom flush with that bottom. Apply. Now my front is correct. Okay, at least I think it is. Now we're going to go ahead and place the top. Place in the top. Yep, that looks like the top. Click open. Single click, and now hit escape in order to drop it so I'm not dropping a bunch of parts in there. Now, again, I need to constrain it to my bottom part. I've done the backs flush, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. A flush constraint between the back of that thing, make sure it's lighting up the right, and the back of that thing. Click apply. Looks ish right. Now I'm going to do the side. Constrain that to that. Click apply. Okie dokie. Now, I can't really easily do this third vertical direction. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat a little bit. I could set up a gap, but the fact of the matter is that it's better for me, since I'm going to physically be assembling this piece onto those and gluing it. I should just go ahead and make that flush constraint between there, and I'm going to pick the front of the box. Click apply, click cancel. Now, cool, my box is assembled. All my parts, if I grab any of these parts, they don't fly off. When you go to turn this in, I'm going to grab these parts and I'm going to try and rip your box apart. Okay, so if it's fully constrained, it's fine. If it's not fully constrained, it's going to shake around the screen, or I'm going to be able to take it and just rip it apart. You don't want me to do that. Now, the next thing we got to talk about is how we check for interferences. Okay, so, well, hold on. File, very important. Mine's still called Assembly 3. I got to save this thing. Make sure that you are in your desktop, or I'm sorry, in your project folder. Okay, click your project folder. Now, I'm going to call this prototype box. Box JG 2 or 3. I don't know. I forgot how many. Click yes to all. Click okie dokie. Now my name popped up here. Not only that, but I'm going to check in my Explorer. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to open my project folder, and I'm going to see prototype box 2JG. I'm seeing, oh yeah, that just happened. Look at that. Isn't that great? Now I'm going to bring to your attention this old versions folder. Do not open it. Do not play with it, because there's nothing good that can come from you messing with here. These are files that Inventor automatically makes and deletes. Do not remove them, drag them places, mess with them. Leave it alone, especially here, because it will get complicated fast and you mess one thing up and the whole thing goes. So don't do that. Now, what we're going to do is check to see if the pieces fit. Now, what you should be immediately going into is, hey, let's do a section view. So I'm going to go to the View tab. I'm going to click a half section view, and I'm going to click that surface, and I want to just push that back by like 1/8 of an inch, so negative 0.125. And I'm going to click okie dokie, and now I'm going to look at it and be like, I can't see anything. It's all grayed out. Geez, that's no fun. Well, here's the deal. I want a screenshot of this, but I want a screenshot that's legible. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to double click it, and it opens up the part file. Yay, parts. Now I'm going to click here where it says generic material, and I'm going to pick a different material. I like copper. Copper's fun. See what's copper now? I'm going to click Save. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's created relationships that get carried forward. You see that? Ah, that's gorgeous. Now it's really easy to see that there isn't an interference there, but still, we are just eyeballing it. I still want a screenshot of that showing me that you did that. But now we are actually going to go here and inspect it. I want to analyze interference. Set one is the front face. Oh, cancel. Did it wrong. Analyze interference. My set one is that front. Define set two is the other part that I want to check for interference with. Boom. No problems there. So what you should do is you should check to make sure that you don't have interferences with the pieces that are around it. Another benefit of doing this so that way you have constant standardized parts where the top is the same as the bottom and the left is the same as the right, is that you would only need to check those unique joints. Okay? If you've mirrored the left side to be identical to the right side of your front, you don't need to check all those sides. So, what you should do is you should do a section analysis of that front, the side, the top, and that should be enough to tell you if it's going to fit or not. If it is not going to fit, now is a great time for you to double click that part and change something. Edit sketch, and you can change what's interfering in those sketches right here, right now. Finish it, and then it'll carry forward into that view. Okay, so you want these to fit before we move forward. Now, hopefully this helps you out. I'm going to go ahead and delete that half section view because I can't stand looking at that. All right, cool. Now, hopefully this helped you out. If you have any questions, let me know. But this should get you your prototype box, and this should get you all of the documentation you need in order to prove that the pieces are going to fit together and not interfere with one another. So take care. Let me know if you have any questions.